That was pain. And announced that we had an executive session right before this to discuss real estate. The first thing on the agenda is to approve the minutes, January 4th.
I gave Kathy a couple of minor edits earlier today, so I would like to make a motion to approve the minutes of January 4th as amended.
I'll second the motion.
Any questions out there, Kathy?
I see none. I do have a question that has to do with the minutes, though. It's from Jim Berge regarding the Jane Lane drainage. So do you want to hold that off until we get further along?
Well, I mean, if it's regarding the minutes, then we should address that at this point.
It's not.
Oh, okay. Well, then we'll do that at public comment.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next, we have the police report. Is there somebody from the police on?
Hi, Mike. Can you hear me?
Hey, Mike. Yes, I can. I don't know
Hi,
if
how you
anybody's
doing?
on.
I'm here. For December, the police department had 96 calls for service. We investigated 6 crimes, 4 arrests, and investigated 7 accidents. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Mike. All right, next we're moving on to the bills list. Need a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the bills list in the amount of $183,774.12.
I'll second the motion.
Any comments or questions, Kathy, on the bills?
No.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Next, we have the treasurer's report. Michelle, I guess.
Okay, so ending month general fund for December 31st, 2020. We have an ending fund balance of $2,798,751.72. I give a budget breakdown. For open space, month ending December 31st, 2020, we have an ending fund balance of $2,172,906.35. Again, I give a budget breakdown. Again, this report is on the website. For capital project reserve for month ending December 31st, 2020, we have an ending fund balance of $678,168.87. In Capital Road, month ending December 31st, 2020, we have an ending fund balance of $4,739,440.70. In liquid fuels, month ending December 31st, we have an ending fund balance of $21,933.71. For sewer, month ending December 31st, 2020, we have an ending fund balance of $63,094.24. And in escrows, month ending December 31st, 2020, we have an ending fund balance of $236,024.33.
Thank you. Is that it?
That is it.
All right. Yeah, so that's about. So it looks like the balance sheet. It's about 10 million.
All funds combined. I don't have a sheet on that for the treasurer's
That's about
report.
right.
That sounds about right.
That sounds
Yes.
about right.
Yes, yes.
That sounds about right.
Okay. Next, we have the manager's report.
In addition to the items that are on the agenda, Mr. Chairman, I worked developing an orientation program for all the new individuals on the various committees. Worked on finalizing, I think, the final draft of the personnel manual, worked on updating the website, and worked with the roadmaster on the 2021 road program.
All right. Thanks. All right. Next, we have announcements. looks like we're appointing somebody on the zoning hearing board.
Let me make that announcement.
Okay.
We're not appointing. It turns out that we don't appoint the zoning hearing board solicitor. The zoning hearing board does. So they had an organization last week, and they appointed Jim Pizza as their solicitor, and we are acknowledging that. So that's,
Even though the zoning hearing board appoints the solicitor, this board sets the hourly rate.
right.
Okay.
Okay. But Mike, I had made a mistake in the appointments during the reorganization meeting, and it had been on the list from the previous year, and I just read it, but it's not our job. So this is doing it right.
Who was the zoning attorney last time?
To Pizza. Oh, you mean 2 weeks ago? 2 weeks ago.
Last year.
Last year it was to Pizza.
Okay.
He's been there for a little while and he doesn't.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I'll get a representation letter from them with the rates and have put the rate on the February board meeting for the board to approve.
Okay. All right. Next we go into new business, and we have a waiver request for stormwater management.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. The township engineer has been working with this property owner for some time, and he's very near the end of the process. They cannot infiltrate any stormwater on the site. The groundwater is about 11 inches below the top of the grade. So he would like a waiver from the stormwater management requirements in order to move forward with construction, and the engineer and the applicant's engineer would work on site to mitigate stormwater to the best they can given the site conditions. Because we're in the process, the Arrow Engineering would stay on the site work, and LTL would do the construction of the house and the property. But Arrow's been working very diligently with the property owner for a substantial period of time, trying to infiltrate any stormwater on the site, but the water table is so high here, you're not going to be able to do it. So he will need a waiver from meeting the stormwater management requirements of the township's ordinance.
May I jump in for just one moment? James Hagney, the engineer for 1804 is here, and I unmuted him. I think he wanted to talk about it.
Well, I don't want to hold up any discussion amongst the board, but I'm here to answer questions. I don't know if I have a shared screen option, but I do have the plans in front of me. And if anybody needs any background information, a lay of the land, literally on that site, the size of the conservation easement, the nature of the small building addition to the farmhouse, the additional parking, I'm certainly willing to walk them through it. I don't know how familiar the board members are with this particular building permit plan. I do know that the board members, at least some of them, are familiar with the 16 years LLC subdivision and the large conservation easements that were created as part of that subdivision. So I
think, Mike, thanks, James. I think they've already started some construction of the addition, and I think they could explain why they're stuck halfway up the hill towards St. Matthew's Road. Is that what happened?
I'm sorry, I'm having trouble hearing you. Could you?
Listen, people in my house would think I was yelling. Okay, what can you hear? Can you hear that?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question, please?
Yeah, there's somebody making noise somewhere.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
If everyone else could mute.
James, do you go by James or Jim?
Jim's fine.
Okay, Jim. I said I thought that they had started doing some construction of the addition already. And is that where you discovered the groundwater issue?
No, actually, the groundwater issue was discovered with soils testing. When we deal with rate and volume control on the site, as part of the stormwater design, we send a soil scientist out to actually do test pits. And we did 3 different test pits on the site, and each one of them yielded a high groundwater at around 10 inches and soil modeling that was indicative of high groundwater. So, and then we did run an infiltration test at the area of the proposed rain garden, and we got 0 infiltration results. The rain, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just chuckling a little bit. So halfway up the field towards St. Matthew's Road, it looked to me that you were doing test pits for infiltration, and I thought the septic system was going to go up there. Is that the case?
Yes, that's the septic system, and that's part of the septic system, you know, for the farmhouse restoration, which is currently underway.
Yeah, so now they're going to have to pump it up there. So they wouldn't have done that if there wasn't a real groundwater issue, right?
Correct.
And they're also consuming what could have been agricultural land with that. So Arrow's not here. Do we have a letter from Arrow, John, talking about this? We muted you.
There you go. Arrow has said they concur with the site limitations, and they recommended the waiver. As part of the waiver, the property will be required to place another 5 acres in the greenway. Because
Got.
I'm sorry?
This is part of their 20 or 25 acre parcel.
Yes.
And what was it in before that it's transferring into greenway? Jim, do you know?
I think there was 15 acres, I think. But Brian said that there is sufficient area on the property to transfer an additional 5 acres into the greenway and not affect the construction or the utilization of the land.
Okay, Jim, do you have any more information on that? Because I would have thought besides the farmstead, everything else of that parcel would have been greenway land.
Well, first off, that was the hearing from the manager tonight. That's the first I've heard of Brian's recommendation of an additional 5 acres. We did go through quite a bit of gyrations with the Pickering Land Trust, and we expanded the greenway area and provided, I think, 22.7 acres of greenway on a lot that is a total of 23.4 acres net of the right-of-way. So we are, from what I can see with our conservation easement plan, there's a little bit of conservation easement, I think, downhill, but I don't know if we have an additional 5 acres that Brian is talking about. I think looking real quickly here, we have, well, let me just, you know, I'm an engineer and I got some capability of doing math here real quickly, but 26.893 minus, and that's net of right-of-way, minus the 22.738. Well, there seems to be, and that doesn't include the area around the house that is, you know, allowed for buildability as per the 16-year farms agreement. So we definitely don't physically have 5 acres on this site to provide in addition. Yeah, so I'm not sure where Brian came up with that number, but we did send an email out to Pamela Brown, who has been really wonderful to work with. And the 16 Years Farm LLC plan, I think, called for something like 23.2 or something, and we provided an additional half of an acre because we modified the conservation easement slightly around the house. We wanted to send that, run that by her And we did get an email from her that the Pickering Land Trust did unanimously vote to approve that at last week's meeting, that
Yes.
modification.
Yeah, I did speak to Pam about it, and the trust did approve it. Maybe it's 0.5 acres, and maybe the decimal point got taken.
Yeah, and we already provided
note.
that.
Yeah.
Can we clarify that before
I
we
will
grant the waiver? Or should we make the waiver contingent on it being 0.5 acres?
Hang on a second.
Going to buy it from one of their neighbors?
Yeah, I believe it was a little over, well, geez, it might have been even 0.7 of an acre, but we did from the original 16-year farm LLC recorded plan, which called that a greenway area, I believe, it might have been on sheet 8. We gave at least half an acre more.
It is 0.5. I just read Pam's email. It's 0.5.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And Jim, you think you provided 0.8, 0.7?
I'd have to see I don't unfortunately have that recorded title plan with me tonight.
Yeah.
But I know it's at least half an acre that Pam presented to their board and received that unanimous approval on.
I'm not a groundwater engineer, so I don't know why a half an acre is sufficient, but if our engineer thinks so, and the land trust who holds the easement on it is okay. I don't know, what's anybody else think?
I have a question. I have a resident's question here.
Sure.
Okay, this is from Julie Foster, and she's asking, does adding more acres to the greenway reduce the water runoff that cannot be remediated?
I would expect that answer is no.
No.
Okay.
No, unfortunately, the nature of this site is, and the conservation easement really is set up as a primarily a water quality device, that you're staying out of those, you're staying out of the floodplain area, you're staying out of, that potential bog turtle habitat, and the modified conservation easement recognizes all of those things. So that was first and foremost that we have to create that buffer. But what we did propose a rain garden downhill from the proposed building addition and the slightly expanded driveway. And that's going to be, we have amended soils in there, and there's a certain amount of infiltration that amended soils can provide through, the porosity of the soil. So we have a volume in place. The unfortunate nature of where that is, and we have to put it downhill to protect those headwaters of the French Creek, is that the groundwater table is seasonal and it's high. So we could not, in the spirit of the ordinance, guarantee that that volume requirement's met. We're doing everything we can. We have a water, quality device there. But we did, unfortunately, we went through all the steps of the ordinance and looked at, smaller amounts, and that's where we wound up, in that we had to ask for that waiver. But rest assured that the water quality and thermal control is in place. To me, that's as important in this instance.
Dawn, any thoughts?
I'm not crazy about waivers.
It does go right down behind the house to the wetlands. But it's.
And that's why we put that rain garden, right above that area and below the building addition and that area of driveway expansion. The applicant also did remove a lot of the previous structures associated with the old farmhouse, and did a lot of mitigation work that was associated with that old dairy farm that I think is also going a long way towards enhancing that water quality there at that wetlands area and the headwaters to the French Creek and Pickering Creek.
You've got me looking at the map to see if it's really the French Creek or the Pickering Creek. So I'm guessing it might be the Pickering. What do you think?
Yes, I'm sorry, it's the Pickering Creek. I misspoke.
Okay, French Creek is on the other side of St. Matthews. You have
All right.
the watershed's right there. So I
Yes.
was worried that we were going in the wrong direction. Okay, I'll stop looking at my watershed map.
Okay, do we have any questions? Okay. Did we make a motion? Do we have a motion on the table and a second?
No motion yet.
No. Should probably do that.
Yeah, I could do that. I could make a motion and then we could talk some more if we wanted. I make a motion to approve the stormwater management waiver request for 1804 St. Matthews Road.
I'll second the motion.
Do we have enough information to make this decision?
What more could we want?
I'm just asking.
Now, what's the size of this addition?
I believe the addition is, sorry, let me get to that sheet. The addition is 1,825 square feet. The existing farmhouse is 765 square feet. So it's not what I would consider a massive addition. It's kind of designed to be in concert with that old stone farmhouse, for view shed purposes.
Is that 1,800 the footprint or the square footage on multiple levels?
I believe that's the footprint. Yes, that is not. I believe it's a.
So it's about double the footprint of the old home.
Right, and I always view, for purposes of stormwater management, the actual impervious coverage footprint. So
Right.
the number I gave you reflects that impervious coverage footprint.
I was at the meeting when they came in to talk to the Historic Commission, and I don't remember that it was double, time and a half, whatever it is, twice the footprint of the existing facility. I thought they referred to it as a small addition.
Well, I guess that with respect to some of the additions we've worked on over the years, I guess, I'm considering it on the smaller side, but that's relative to the aesthetics of the board.
But we've issued the building permits, right?
Right.
The 1825, does that include the extra driveway?
No, the total amount of additional impervious coverage is 5,640 square feet of additional impervious coverage, which we provided rate control and stormwater management for that, and that includes driveway, the possibility of a future pool and pool area on the other side of the farmhouse and the addition itself. So that also takes into account structures that were removed on the site. And we included 20% of those structures removed. In our stormwater designs, we looked at that as meadow conditions. So there's water quality control that's in concert with the countywide ordinance that allows for that kind of for lack of a better term, cushioning, to provide additional stormwater management. You're not allowed to include all of the impervious coverage you remove. You have to do some of that as meadow.
Okay. And our engineer was okay with this plan?
Yes, he is.
We've been working pretty hard on trying to bring this to a resolution.
Okay. Kathy, any questions out there?
Let me check here. Yes, there's another question or comment from Julie Foster, and she's asking, those are helpful points on water quality. Will the rain gardens still be installed if the variance is granted? Rain gardens can filter water as well as slow its absorption.
Yes, and that's the whole purpose of the rain garden. And I know you folks are, I'm sure, familiar with Natural Lands Trust. I live down in East Bradford. I walk at the Stroud a lot. And they have experimental rain gardens there. And that's the whole purpose of it is you're looking at filtration. You're looking at thermal mitigation, which is really important. And I think that we're going to get some infiltration there with the amended soils. But it's just unfortunate that, there are times during the season that the groundwater could get a little high in that area. So, we're going to do our best. We've made every effort to do our best in that area, downhill from that expanded impervious coverage.
Okay, and this rain garden is part of the plan, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And,
Any other questions?
oh, somebody has a question?
No, that's it so far. Yeah.
Okay, Jim, so you've calculated into that 60, 56, 40 things that they might want to do. Are you thinking they'd be proposing to put the pool in this area of high groundwater? Or would you be recommending they find another spot for that?
No, that's when you're doing construction in seasonal high groundwater, it should be noted that, when we look at those soil test logs, when you dig down, seasonal high groundwater table doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to immediately see groundwater at 10 inches. What the soils scientist sees is he looks at modeling characteristics of the soil profile. We dug down to 60 inches and we didn't see presence of water, but you can see evidence that there is presence of water there at times during the year. So when you construct something like a swimming pool per se, you can construct the swimming pool, but the seasonal high groundwater table wouldn't affect, say, foundation work per se, because you can kind of construct around it, waterproof it, backfill everything, and then seasonal high groundwater table, it just kind of goes about its business, similar to the way it does around the old foundation of the stone farmhouse, the barn, etc.
Okay. Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. No more questions. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks very much for your time, folks, and have a good rest of the evening.
Information.
All right. Next, we have another request for a waiver.
I'll read that. I make a motion to approve a zoning hearing board fee waiver request from 1030 Linden. And the rationale for this is that the issue that this homeowner is facing is being presented to the Planning Commission as something we need to fix in the ordinance. This is the fourth person in the Weatherstone subdivision that we know of in 2020 who was turned down because of a pre-existing condition of too much impervious coverage as built. Our zoning officer interprets that he can't have more than 30% impervious coverage, and his house as built was over 40%. House, driveway, but whatsoever. He's also putting on a deck.
Well, let me ask you a question, Sarah. How did that happen?
It was back in 2000. You and I were in elementary school.
Yeah, I would.
So the homeowner said to me, he'd like to have his 1/273rd of the open space, and then he'd have enough room. Also, we are counting decks as impervious coverage, and this is a deck with slots where the water can go through the open ground, dirt underneath. So it's like, we need to really look at that. And because the Weatherstone was done with the UDs at Universal Development Area or something, we might be able to correct that plan.
So okay, so back when Weatherstone was built, did we have a ordinance giving a maximum of 30%, or was it higher?
I think it was higher or not covered. I don't know. Elementary school maybe might be.
Yeah, I'm guessing it was higher, and then the township changed it and lowered the rate to 30%.
Because,
Otherwise, I can't imagine how a builder could build something at 41% when the ordinance says 30%. I don't know how they get away with that.
right, but because so much of it was left in open space over there on Westover and along Fellowship and 401, it was probably part of a trade-off to have high-density clustered housing and to leave more open space available. So,
But that would have gone against the ordinance, though. That's the problem. I don't know how you go against an ordinance.
we had tier 5 in our ordinance then. We've taken tier 5 out, but I think tier 5 gave us that latitude. John, do you have more information?
Well, I would think the one issue that probably, if the ordinance changed, it would have been a result of the countywide Stormwater Management Act 160 plan. And that probably occurred in the early 2000s. So the zoning for the Weatherstone probably happened in the late 90s. They
Correct.
started construction in 2000. So we're talking, a couple of decades here, and the change in the stormwater regulations occurred after 2000. When
Well, I'd be okay with the waiver then.
Yeah.
Okay, I made that motion.
I'll second the motion.
Any questions, Kathy?
I see no questions right now.
Thank
Okay,
you.
all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, moving on, we have authorization to advertise an ordinance for $500,000.
I make the motion to authorize the advertisement of an ordinance for a $500,000 5-year loan to purchase equipment for public works. This is a budgeted item.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, of course I have a problem with this one. We have close to $8 million in the bank and we're borrowing $500,000. It seems kind of irresponsible in my opinion,
Actually,
but
Mike,
that's my opinion.
Mike, in
Anybody else have any thoughts on that?
in the world of finance, never use your own money when you can borrow money this cheap.
Yeah, well, I don't like that attitude because the money that you're actually using each time is the taxpayer's money. When we have $8 million, you already took the money from the taxpayer and now you're borrowing more, putting the taxpayer more on hook for something that you could actually pay for with the money that you've already gotten from the taxpayers.
But you have money in the bank where if some other necessity comes up, you have it. You can move.
Yeah,
on.
and I agree with that, except for I think every taxpayer would say the same thing. They would love to have more money in their bank account in case something comes up. So, that's just my opinion and my comment. Kathy, is there any questions or comments out there?
No questions or comments.
Okay.
John, what rate is this? Do we think this is going to be at?
I'm sorry.
Do we know a rate for this loan?
It'll be around 1%.
Thank you.
Now, I'd be in favor for getting
Do we
the
have
loan at 1% and giving the $500,000 back to the residents. 1% is a good deal, so if they give it back to the residents, that'd be good.
Well, if we can improve our response from our equipment, that might be a way to give the.
Well, I hate to say it, some of these things
a benefit.
some of these things that are on this purchase have been discussed in the past, and it was determined that the use does not justify the purchase.
Is it in this read ahead packet? I don't remember.
No.
Oh, okay. All right. Then I won't
Okay.
roll.
No questions or comments out there, Kathy?
Barry had his hand up. He's self-muted. So, Barry, you're going to have to unmute yourself. He's still muted. Let me see.
There we go. Am I on?
There he is.
Yeah, you're on now. Go ahead, Barry.
Okay, yeah. Hey, I totally agree with Mike on that. Being self-employed all my life, much like Mike, we understand what it is when it's our own money and you don't borrow money when you have it. I don't care what anybody says about that. You're paying to have money. that you already have the money for. You don't give it to the bank. You're spending money to use other people's money. It makes sense if you don't have a lot and you're kind of you have a chance or an ability to overspend and run out of money, but I don't see that as the case. How much money do we have that is not accounted, not attributed to anything right now, Mike?
About 8 million.
$8 million. So, and the money they want to borrow is $500,000.
Correct.
That's a no-brainer. That's an absolute no-brainer. That's such a small percentage that you're never going to have an issue with it. It's absolutely stupid to borrow money and pay interest on it. It's a waste of taxpayers' money. That's all I got.
Okay.
Okay.
Anybody else, Kathy?
Yes, I have a question from Jim Berge, and he's asking, what is the rate of return on our investments? If greater than 1%, it makes sense.
I would agree with that too.
Our
it's not.
interest rates we're making a little less than, I believe, 1% right this minute. But as you know, if you're paying attention to the people who talk money, everyone's indicating that interest rates are going to go up in 2 or 3 years from now, not next year, but in the subsequent years. And I would not doubt that it'll be greater than 1% at some point in time in the next 5 years.
That is probably true.
Yeah.
So you're thinking.
So maybe we should borrow 10 million.
See, John, you just get so excited. Mike's ready to get more money.
Kathy, any questions?
I see no more.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Nay.
Oh,
So,
I just had Julie raise her hand.
well, Telly, we voted. Does she still want to ask?
Let me see here. Julie, do you want to unmute? No, she's still muted.
Okay, next on the agenda is the purchase of 2 tires.
I make the motion to authorize the purchase of 2 tires for the Public Works backhoe in the amount of $1,287. This is also a budgeted item.
And I'll second the motion.
Kathy, any comments or questions?
Let's see. Okay, no,
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Next, we have the authorization to purchase 6 tires for the grader.
I make the motion to authorize the purchase of 6 tires for the Public Works grader in the amount of $9,745.40. This is yet again a budgeted item.
And I'll second that motion.
Kathy, any comments or questions?
no.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, moving on to non-agenda items. Kathy, I think in the beginning you said there was a question that we.
Yes. There is from Jim Berge. Julie just unmuted. So, Julie, are you there?
Oh, yes, that's funny because I hadn't hit the button. I just submitted a question typed before about the loan. I was wondering if there's an origination fee, and if so, how much? But I appreciate that.
No. The cost of the processing and everything is 40 basis points.
Okay, in addition to the 1% interest rate.
That's correct.
Okay.
And did Jim
Okay.
have another question?
Let me get to Jim Berge's question. Let me get back up here to the top. Okay. He was asking for an update on the Janie Lane drainage problem and the interactions with PennDOT to help resolve the decade-old problem of water crossing Birch Run Road.
John?
I met with the township engineer last week and gave him the information with respect to the county work asked him to check with PennDOT, to find out who the project manager is on that project and to set a meeting up with PennDOT on that. I'm meeting with the engineer later this week, and that is one of the items that I will be talking to him about. And it is the project that he and I will be working on this year.
Okay.
If we get some more information, I'll inform the board on it and the public.
Okay. Kathy, anything else?
No.
Okay. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion, Bernie. I was thinking you might like to do that, but
I'll second the motion.
thank you.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Have a great week, everybody.
Chris,
Nice
see
one. Appreciate
See you in
it.
a couple
See you
weeks.
guys.
you, Joe.
Bye.
Good night.
See you, Joe.
Thank you, Joe.
Nice to meet
Thank
you.
Thank
Hope
you.
to see you in real life sometime after COVID.
Coming soon, huh?
Yeah, better.
I'll see some of you tomorrow. And Michelle, we never got to see you. So I guess she's gone already.
Yeah, she is.
Now, do you still have people hanging on in the waiting